Yeah. SpeedGate, let's ride. Pedal down, full throttle, we ain't slowing down. Horsepower talk, yeah, we running this town. Fast lanes, fast cars, hear the engines roar. Motorsports culture, always wanting more. From the street to the track, every story's real. Breaking down the speed, talking how we feel.
SpeedGate Motorsports.
Hey there, welcome to the SpeedGate Motorsports podcast. I'm already messing it up with saying the words. We want to introduce ourselves and talk about, or basically on this show, we're going to be going over past events, current events, as well as future events, and maybe some updated topics in the racing community, racing world, even cars themselves, new cars, old cars. But it's going to be a fun podcast that we really want to do. Obviously, talk about our team because we're doing all kinds of stuff. But obviously, like I said, current events that are going on in the world of motorsports. But to talk a little bit about us, we have Patrick and Zach. Zach, tell us more about SpeedGate.
So, SpeedGate started off as a small car club for friends to go mountain driving in like a safe environment. We're a bunch of car enthusiasts that actually enjoy driving our cars. Patrick and I met actually in my previous occupation as a property manager. He had a really badass Honda EK1.
I had an EM1. I had
EM1.
a legit
I was
SI.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was very close, but he had a legit one. Him and I kind of hit it off, and eventually our passion for motorsports developed into the team that we have today. And that team is a consistent set of street and track drivers that share their passion through mutual interest and shared visions and goals.
So with SpeedGate, what gets you up in the morning? What do you do in motorsports, or what kind of what do you do nowadays? I guess is the short version of it is.
So SpeedGate is an event organization team and a autocross / time attack team. And what that means for us is hosting weekly, seasonal, monthly, and annual events, as well as some semi-annual events with organizations such as manufacturers, dealerships like Lexus over in Nally. We have also worked with Gwinnett Place Nissan, and of course we've worked with amazing people such as Julian Brown, Nature Jab, the gentleman that has successfully converted plastic to usable fuel using a fully green and electric process. So using our resources, we try to give to the community as much as possible, and most of our events are free to attend. The vendors are free to set up. We're just trying to help the community grow since that community has been so great to us, and occasionally we are able to put our resources and funds together to have what we call, our favorite event, the Nissan Skyline Invitational, which is actually coming up June 25th through 28th in just about 2 weeks. And that is going to be free to attend Thursday, Friday, and Sunday with an amazing paid portion at Gas South Convention Center in Duluth for just $15 for a spectator or $20 at the gate.
But yeah, I definitely want to know more about that. But for the team, now y'all are both co-owners. Is there any other owners of the team, or is it just you two?
It's just us for now.
Just you two? That's a lot to control. So, Zach, what is your role? When I say role in the team, obviously you have owner, but what do you do a part of the team as well? Because obviously you got two sweet cars that we're happy to talk about.
Yeah, so I've got two old little Nissans, and they get me from point A to point B, and I'm a big fan of those cars. But more importantly, the team itself is focused on time attack and autocross. So when I am capable and able to, that is the motorsport of choice for me. I've always wanted to get into endurance racing, but that is what is feasible for me and what I can consistently attend. I have a ton of fun doing it. I love fighting locals and I love fighting out across, state borders, learning new tracks and just adapting to whatever comes my way. So with Patrick, he also had a lot of experience in motorsports early in his day, and we were able to take both his experience and my experience to kind of develop the team that we have now. And of course, that includes you as one of those championship winning drivers that has been racing with us, and of course has been racing autocross, time attack, and kind of every event in between.
What about you, Pat? What brings you to the team, and what do you participate in or have, or all the things?
Yeah. So when Zach and I met, we we kind of hit it off pretty good with the car scene. And I've been in the car scene myself for, I mean, early days of high school, 2010, 2011 is when I kind of started really, like, I started working on Hondas of all things, and it just kind of snowballed into, me having, I mean, an uncountable amount of cars at this point. Everything from, I've had turbo cars, NA cars, I've had, you name it, front wheel drive, all wheel drive, rear wheel drive. So I've had it all. And then of course, really being big into the motorcycle scene as well. So I have, quite a roster of experience with that. But when we met, yeah, it kind of was like, hey, we're both passionate about the same thing. And, we basically just kind of said, hey, let's do our own thing, because what we were doing at the time, it wasn't working out with the groups that we were with. And
Yeah, we had an experience with a group in Roswell that,
yeah,
started basically because a friend of mine that I knew from high school while I was going to college had invited me to go hit some local mountain roads that I didn't expect him to know. So we hit those roads together. We had a bunch of fun. I saw his driving capability. Of course, we drove the speed limit and never did anything illegal the whole time. But we had a great time. We had a great time having a spirited drive, and we realized that we could take this experience to other places. Now, he was a part of a car club already that had recently started up. It was very small. It was a bunch of, freshly out of high school kids that I didn't even know, to be honest. He was the only one I knew going into it. But later on, as I tried to support that purely for the passion and for the camaraderie between the team that we had built, Patrick, was one of my friends that I had developed, like I said, in my previous occupation, and I knew I wanted him to join us. Unfortunately, life got busy for both of us, and things didn't necessarily work out for that group for either of us, but we knew when we had the idea and the ability to really put SpeedGate together, that having each other as the support as far as the vision and the crazy ideas that I was coming up with, and the realism and the resources that Patrick was able to provide, really combined for a slow growth to a steady vision. And that gave us a good foundation to really start with. And it gave us, I think, the consistency we needed to get to this point today.
So, Pat, what is your car of choice nowadays? Do you have a project car or a car that you plan on racing?
Yeah, I have something, and I can't tell you what it is.
Okay.
Zach knows what it is. It's a secret.
Okay.
I'm not
But
supposed to know, and he's
he's not
got me an
supposed to know either.
inkling. I've got a theory of what it is. He's told me that I could be right, so I'm assuming that it is. But knowing him and his taste for VTEC, that's all I can assume. So
Dude, I
Yeah.
was the race I just did at Talladega. It was an amazing. So, golly, we were doing about, it was an autocross race at Talladega, and we were doing about 90 miles an hour in the autocross. And
wow,
the time that we were hitting, it was me versus a Supra, a decked out Supra. But only 1 second behind us. Again, we're rolling at like 90 miles an hour. So this isn't a small course. It's not a slow course. It's certainly tight. But the small tire class, which is considered the slower of the classes, because we were in the big tire, was a 1985 CRX, if I'm saying that right, and a 2019 Miata ND2, and they were, after the first day, they were within 1/10. Within this, after the second day, which is the final, they were within a half a tenth. And they were, it's, the Hondas just roll. Like, you can't, with how light they are. And I assume with your, I heard all-wheel drive dabblings, I have a feeling that's probably, that'd be my guess.
Yeah, when I started this group, I actually had a Veloster Turbo. That was only actually brand new car I've ever owned, and I was like, I need something that has a little bit more street cred, and so I ended up trading that in. And there was a place over in South Carolina, and they had an Evo 10. and it was the MR, which has the 6-speed like paddle shift situation.
Yeah.
And I was dumb to it at the time. I knew that I didn't know that those transmissions sucked ass, but
They may or may not be made out of glass and fragile dreams.
yeah, but that car is kind of what I started with, and so it was all-wheel drive, 300 horse turbo, and and then of course Zach, you had just gotten that first S2K, right? And then or did you still have the Q?
So no,
No, you didn't have the Q at the time because
I think I had the Boulder Gray, or no, the Chalk Gray S2000.
That's right.
And
That's right.
the Camry. I think that was the combination at the time.
What got you to get rid of an S2000? I mean, I know you're a big Nissan guy, but man, that's a hard car to just be like,
40,000 miles over the course of a year and a half, and I was offered the same price that I paid for it. So, in my eyes, I had a free car, and the car was already modified and perfect in my eyes, so I barely did anything to it other than basic maintenance. So, I essentially, what felt like to me, drove the car for free. And my goal, which I did, was to literally just turn around and go get the next best thing, which was, in my opinion, a Corvette. So I went and bought a friend of a friend's Corvette. I was under the impression it was a manual. Yeah, I was under the impression it was a manual. I showed up, I tried to walk away, and then I fell for the age-old trick of, wait, let me give you a ride first. This Corvette was a C5 with a Frankenstein LS1 and 2 from Vengeance Racing with an RPM Stage 5 drag transmission and an RPM Stage 4 diff and a matching diff housing with Brembo 6-piston, I believe it was 6-piston and 4-piston rear, might have been 2-piston rear. It was the massive Brembo package. It was on BC coilovers. It had an exhaust, had a glass target top. It was all blacked out. It was a beautiful car. If you ever gone 92 in second gear, well, this Corvette did it without activating the 175 shot of NOS. That was the fun part. The 175 shot gave it about 5 or 6 consistent 10-second slips. So that car boogied, but it also failed miserably. And that is where S2000 number 2 came into play.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I definitely want to get into y'all's kind of deep stories later on for sure, because in the car world, I've been through my fair share of cars. Now, I can tell you my history on cars is not as cool as y'all's. I spent most of, actually my history on my career is, I'm 33. I've been racing for now 26 years. I started karting when I was 7, jumped over to late models. Since then, I've done asphalt, dirt, oval, road course, endurance, sprint, gas, electric, and now from high horsepower all-wheel drives to little horsepower two-wheel drive. So I've done all kinds of racing in my career, but it's crazy as the vehicles I own were a V6 Firebird, some trucks, a Nissan Altima, and that's about the extent of it. The only coolest car I had was they have a 350Z, a 370Z, and a big Nissan fan.
A 370, yeah.
I had a 350 and a 370. I love those. I'm a big Nissan fan too, so I do like my Nissans. I've always still wanted a GTR. It's still on my list. One of these days,
say get one, man.
I know. I'm an R30. I'm an R35 though.
Too, that countersteer is really good at what they do, and then
I see their work.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's on my list. But for now, I'm racing. I've been racing the Tesla for the last 3 years, getting back into autocross and time attack stuff. Did well there. I think up to this point, in that car, I think I've done 29 races in it with 23 or 24 wins, 3 track championships, and all kinds of other awards with that thing.
Yeah, accolades and stuff.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of awards. That thing has really given me the love of racing that I've always missed. But now the one thing that the electric life is, which we'll get into another time, but unfortunately I can't race at Carolina Motorsports Park. There's a night HPDE day at Charlotte. It just sounds absolutely amazing. I can't do that. There's a lot of things I can't do in the Tesla, and even if I wanted to go have some fun at Road Atlanta, which does accept electric cars, at the rate that I race it, or drive it, which is pretty aggressively. I have to go charge it every time I get on the track. So it just kind of dampens the driving experience. What it's able to do with the amount of money that I have into it, and what it's able to do, who it's able to compete against, what I'm able to accomplish, and my biggest thing is like who I'm able to give the experience to. I've won events with 4 or 5 people in the car, and I've won the event doing it that way. It's been absolutely amazing, but I'm ready to try something different. So I ended up buying a 2016 ND1 Miata, which I still don't know if it's a right or wrong decision. The car itself is so much fun. The Miata platform is absolutely amazing. The biggest thing in the racing community is the ND1 versus ND2, now ND3. And there was a huge jump from the 2016 to 18 all the way to the 2019 and up. There was a big jump all the way around. So it was a big decision whether I wanted to do it or not, but I got it at a really good deal. So I think I'm going to hang on to it, which I haven't talked to you guys about, but I think my future plan is a 2.3 EcoBoost going inside that thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's actually kits out there that
Good option.
fit in there really well. There's a guy out there that's running it nationally, making about he said on medium setting, running about 450 horsepower on medium setting, with bone stock internals. So it'd be pretty sweet setup, but not anytime soon. That'd be maybe a future thing. But that's my goal for that. But with that being said, is one of our big partners, or I say partners, is people that we groups that we work well with, do a lot of events with and whatnot, is JZilla. And I know I had a big event in Talladega, but y'all had a huge event last weekend with JZilla. Tell me about that. I didn't get to be there for it. I was pretty sad about it. But what was that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to say, James and the folks at JZilla are probably some of the best people when it comes to learning what it means to get on track. Now, anybody can get on track, any car can do it. You just have to make sure, of course, that it can pass a safe technical inspection, and JZilla will give you the resources and the environment to safely learn how to actually handle your car in an open track environment. So what we experienced last week was their first ever time attack series called the Sundial at Barber Motorsports Park. So time attack, if you are new to this, is essentially what qualifying is for F1. And to bring that down to layman's terms, the person that goes around the track in their respective class with the fastest time is the winner, and then the people behind them in chronological order based off of their lap times are now second, third, fourth place, all the way down. So our team, SpeedGate Motorsports, competed in time attack. We had Nate in his Challenger, Nate Shahan in his orange Dodge Challenger, competing in, I believe, street circuit class, and he did fantastic. He put that thing through its paces. Unfortunately, he's limited to the tire tread wear, and the people in his class are running their car to the T. Basically, their car is fully spec'd out for the racing book, and Nate's car was just really handicapped by his tire tread wear of 400, which is, if you don't know, a daily tire tread wear. These other guys were running, I think, the equivalent of semi-slicks at the minimum. So,
one thing I will say, we're gonna have him on the show if we continue doing the show, which I highly think we will. We will have him on the show so we can tell about his car. But Nathaniel is an amazing driver. He's taking a vehicle that shouldn't be doing what it's doing, and make it do things that it's not supposed to be doing, and he's just doing well at it. The funny part is yes, the funny part about it is it makes me sad because I talk to him about it all the time. But what he's able to do with the car, and he's still missing components, and one of the biggest components is his tires. I was like, dude, when I bought my Miata, I didn't buy suspension, I didn't buy shocks, I bought rubber. I bought some rubber, and he is running off of street tires. And he goes, man, it handles well. I'm like, if you think that handles well, wait till you get some tires. But anyways, continue. Yeah, what was the other classes we were running?
Yeah, absolutely. So big shout out to Nate and his Challenger. He handles the General Lee like it's nothing. So Trevor, he ran in, I believe, street. Let's see if I can remember. There was circuit, and I think it was just GT Street. I think is the next class. So
Yeah.
I think there was GT Circuit and then GT Street is the right terminology. I'm just guessing off of memory at this point. And then my G35 was out there as well, and we had our friend Carson driving that. He did a great job. But first, to touch on Trevor, he has this beautiful track built, spec'd out to the rule book. Toyota GR86. He was running these awesome 200 treadwear tires, Koenig Hypergram wheels. I believe he's got a tune from our friends over at Tech Sport in Carrollton, Georgia, and he has the brake hardware and the cooling support he needs to get the car along the way. I want to say he's also on HKS Hypermax coilovers, if I remember correctly. I don't know, but I know at the minimum I think he's on coilovers. Now, he did phenomenal. I saw Carson in the G35 and him go tit for tat for multiple laps. They were trading corners, and he actually ended up placing second in his class. So we were extremely proud of Trevor and everything that he did out there. His consistency during the wet, during the dry, regardless of what run group he was in, and regardless of who was in front of him or behind him, he was able to stick to. I saw some insane saves. I mean, some straight up initial D four-wheel entry through the corner on the brick, and it was all controlled. It was all flowing. It was epic. And to see that footage and to see it from the grandstands watching everything as it all went by was just an epic experience. So I'm excited to get back out there myself, but the 8-6 and Trevor did phenomenal in their class, and they well earned second place. The G35 with Carson driving ended up in third place in what was called Roach class, which is essentially your daily driver. You bring it as is. It's got to have a 200 to 400 treadwear tire minimum, depending on your horsepower, and you basically send that car as hard as you can. So that car did well. It had some overheating issues, but it ended up getting third place, I think, by just a few tenths. So it could have done better. I know Carson gave it his all, but the car has a lot more development to go through. And for podiums, for also Roach class and I think GT Street, where Trevor was in, is really cool for our team to take right off the rip on JZilla's first time attack. And they also had, of course, HPDE, which is your practice sessions going on as well. So we had multiple guys on the team get podium, and we had, of course, Nate placing well as he could on his limited street tire in a very competitive class.
What on the G35? What tires are you running?
So the tires on the G35 were actually a terrible mixed match of 560 treadwear Michelin up front and 300 treadwear in the rear. That car has very soft dampening. It is my daily driver. I let Carson take it around and throw it around like it was nobody's business. I trust him to the moon and back with these cars, and the best part is if he wrecks it, I get to walk away with a beautiful Sierra Blue RZ34 with all the mods I could want. So he's always going to drive the car safely and within the limits where I don't have to worry about anything really happening. And if it does, I'm not really too worried about it because I get an upgrade anyways.
There you go. There you go. Now, why, I got to ask, because I actually didn't even know this, why were you not driving it? Or did you get a chance to drive it? Or what's the story there?
So, yeah, I just have some medical reasons I think I told you about in the past. I'm still kind of
Gotcha.
getting through
Yep.
those. Yeah, so just the way everything is done, I can let, my friends that I trust drive the car, which I was
Mhm.
letting my friend Jason, he drove the car at Road Atlanta. He did phenomenal earlier this year. We were just really, in my opinion, the way I see it is like they're helping me fine tune it while I'm kind of getting through my personal stuff. And then once the car is fine tuned, while Jason builds it and helps me through everything, I'm going to get it tuned over at Countersteer as soon as I can get an ECU put in and trust Dylan, of course, with all that sensitive stuff. It's going to go to all the right places. And right now it's just getting the shakedown it needs to be ready.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I forgot you. Yeah, but
No
this
worries.
year, I think you're going to be racing a little later this year. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Maybe next
getting
year?
very close. Hopefully, just depending on how things shake out. I can't guarantee anything. It's still, unfortunately, like it's still affecting me right now. And it's not the easiest thing to get through. But more than anything, I'm happy to support the team and be there and push through as much as I can within reason.
Absolutely. Well, I gotta ask, what is you got the G35? You had the GTR that you were racing in the past a lot, and to see that car on the track is just phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, especially not only the car, but to see a car like that. That's like I don't know,
Yeah.
taking an old a 70s Corvette and ripping it around the track. So to see that, it's pretty crazy. But
Yeah.
why the change? Why going from the
Yeah.
GTR to the G35?
So I'll touch base on the GTR 2. So for those that don't know, I have a counter steer built from the ground up 1990 R32 GTR. This car is my dream car. It is exactly what we want it to be and then some. There's always a phase for this car, and I do see the ending phase, at least what I consider the ending phase, around the corner. And we are closing in on those developments for like the finishing touches and the fine points that are going to let us achieve that. But that car is a beast. We are figuring out this new R&D brake setup that we got from Z1 Motorsports. I think they had made a few in the past for a couple other Skylines. We're fortunate enough to be one of the ones that they decided to test with, and it is a six-piston R35 GTR caliper with the four-piston rear on two-piece rotors. And right now, it's currently getting sorted out. I'm hoping the car will be out at the track in the next few track days. But a G35 was actually my first personal car that I had purchased, and it had always been my dream to drive it on track. I had a 350Z a few years ago. I wanted to track that car. I sold it to a friend that I had trusted to sell it back to me. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, of course, and I stumbled upon this barn find essentially where I was hosting one of our Speedgate meets with Patrick and Matt over in Roswell. A FedEx driver came up to me. He saw my RZ34, told me he had a similar car and that he was interested in selling it. 4 months later, after reaching out to this guy, when he gave me his phone number, he finally responded, gave me some details, and it was a one owner 2004 Infiniti G35. It is pretty much the top trim level, so it's got the full leather interior, 6-speed manual, the factory LSD. It had 18-inch rims. It has the factory spoiler, and it was in really good condition. It just, of course, was sitting for about 10 to 12 years. So my friend Jason and I restored it. I handed it to him with a ton of upgrades with the support of my partners over at Z1 Motorsports and our good friends over there. And now it is a track-capable build that we can, take across the United States and back if we needed to.
That's one thing about and I feel like maybe the same situation, but obviously the Tesla has a lot of power, all-wheel drive, all the things, which it's really nice, really fun to have. But I do have a lot of fun in that Miata, ripping that thing around
Yeah.
with the lack of power. I know this is kind of a weird. I wouldn't call it a flex because neither one's my car. But my dad's got a C8 Corvette. He's got a Viper and he's got the R8. And I've never been a big fan of R8s. I think that for price per performance, I never thought they were any good until I drove one, and still not fast, but to be able to bang through gears and not go anywhere, I don't know why, it's just the biggest joy in the world. To be able to act like you're going fast, but not going too fast, but are going really fast type of deal.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if that's kind of the same idea with the G, that you're able to enjoy
Love
the
it.
slowness.
Yeah, that's exactly the thought when I got that car is the GTR itself. It is a phenomenal car. It is an expensive car to build to that point, and especially the way it's going. So I love that thing to death. I'm always going to push it, and I got that car to drive it. And for anybody else that gets their dream car and is too afraid to drive it, shame on you, man, or lady. Shame on you, because that's what they're for. Don't just let it be a museum piece. I understand if it's some rare classic, but at some point you got to take it out for a Sunday drive. Now, when you buy a car like I did for the purpose that I bought it for, you dedicate to that purpose. And with the G35, that is a car that I feel that its purpose is to be exactly what you described. That perfect balance of a slow car I can drive fast. It's all of about 210 wheel horsepower. It weighs about 3,400 pounds. The power to weight is way heavier and way lower, I believe I said that correctly, compared to the GTR, and it's so much smiles per gallon. I
Mm.
cannot get out of that car and get out without a giant grin across my face because it is so much fun. And I see the way the passengers get out of that car when it's on track. I see the way the drivers get out of that car when it's on track. I get out of it when it's on the street, and I love it to death, and I just can't wait to get it out there to race it. But I see how much fun everybody has. I'm going to fine tune it, stiffen up a few things, change a few things, and hopefully the next go around, the next shakedown, it's even better for everybody to enjoy.
Yeah, those cars are really nice. Like I said, my 350Z. It's funny. My wife, I still ask her here and there, and I was like, hey, because I had both the 350 and 370. I said, hey, which one do you prefer, the 350 or 370? Her response is every way Sunday is the 350. She loved my 350Z. I preferred the 370. I like the newer stuff, but she
Yeah.
loved the 350. Pat, I know we've been doing I mean, we're in June right now. What's kind of been going on in the past when it came to Speedgate and car shows? I know like a lot of our because the big thing that we haven't really explained, or at least we skipped over it, but we've been talking about all the motorsports side or all the racing side of Speedgate Motorsports, but there's a whole car show side. Obviously, cars like I mean the GTR is kind of an exception, but I know my Tesla is not really the one to go to car shows, and Nate's is really nice vehicle. Like his Scat Pack is so nice, but it's got its wear and tear on it. Where we have a good crew of clean cars that win a lot of awards at shows. And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so essentially, I'll try to keep it as short as possible, right? Because I could talk for an entire hour or two about that side of things. But essentially, like the way that we have kind of the way that we host our specific car events and car shows is, we try to bring the community together in, family friendly and very safe environment, because that's becoming harder and harder to find with the way the car scene is going and how it's just kind of on a downtrend, unfortunately, especially here in Atlanta, where, takeovers are really, unfortunately, a very common thing now. And the police is trying to,
in the car.
yeah, it is. It really is. So, the police, with police presence and such, like we try to do our due diligence with our car events and keep everything legal and actually, permitted, if you will. And in doing that over the past since we started this group, 2020, it's grown to the point where people such as John Gibson, who, for those that don't know, John Gibson has an insane car collection. He has a Lexus LFA.
Collection.
Yeah.
The dream collection.
Warehouse full of cars.
In an undisclosed location.
Yeah, undisclosed location. But this man owns an LFA and a Porsche 918. He also owns an actual Countach. So if that gives you kind of an idea of what this man has in his possession, and we're one of the only car events that he feels safe to bring those cars to, because we promote and foster that good environment. And so that's something that we've always tried to do. And we also make sure that everybody feels included. So, if you come to our event, it could be any event, whether you have like the rattiest, shittiest Honda Civic, or whether you have, a supercar. It doesn't matter what you own. If you pull up, you're going to be welcomed by us, because usually, like, we go off of, like, if you respect us, we respect you back.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so that's kind of how we've,
And
I
would
caught
say,
that vibe the first time I ever met, because I'm in. So what they don't know is you guys are all in Georgia, mainly close to Atlanta. I'm actually in South Carolina, in Anderson, South Carolina, and there's a lot of racing here. There is some car community. It's kind of a little bit different car community. It's mainly drag racing and stuff like that, but there's still a little car community. And I remember I was looking on the Athens page of car groups, and I'm like, and somebody posted about a car meet in Georgia, and I was like, screw it. I said, I'm going somewhere else. And that's where I got to meet Nathaniel and Supermom and everything like that. And the way it was such a family-oriented group, or at least those crew. I knew whoever they are hanging around with is the right place to go. And they were like, oh, we deal a lot with Speedgate. We work with Speedgate. We go to all their shows and stuff like that. And once they became a part of the team, and eventually I ended up joining, it's just such a family. I've never had a seen or been or heard of a car show that's very family oriented. Where unlike y'all's, it just feels that way. Yes, everybody's here to see everybody's cool car, but it's not somebody's backyard punk rev show. I said it's a nice, clean, professional group of friends.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the hot parking lot meets get old. Now, I did want to touch base on something that you mentioned earlier, Kyre, and something that we should definitely pay homage to. So, Patrick has touched base on a lot of our show aspect. We do have this amazing showcase team of some cars that you just wouldn't believe with your eyes until you saw them. Our friend Russell from JZilla Motorsports drives this absolutely stellar one of two body kit in the U.S. Correct me if I'm wrong. One of seven or
Yeah,
nine in the
one
world.
of two.
Route KS wide body. Uh, I think it's a 1990 1991, I think, Acura NSX, if that sounds about right. This car is phenomenal. It's got a built, forged NA engine. It is a driver's car on coilovers, on a one-off wheels with his partnership with Ray's Wheels Engineering over in Japan. He is a through and through enthusiast. He featured that car in Fast and Furious. It's been in Ride Along with Kevin Hart and I believe Ice Cube, if that sounds about right.
Yeah.
And then he has also just driven that car in different countries. I believe he was in Malaysia with Ray's in like a 4x4 stacked car elevator at one point. So when you have builds like Russell's that carry that kind of heritage, it is crazy to imagine that he is just, another one of our friends that shared the same vision, shared the same passion, and we kind of ended up in this scenario. I knew a couple guys that joined our group years later that first told me, oh, we're lone wolves. We don't do this. We don't do that. And it's not any hard feelings, of course. I always love hanging out with my friends one way or another. But when they approached me years later and like, I like the way this is going. This is a group that I actually want to join now. Now we have guys like Chris Meld, of course, another one of our multiple year-long friends that go way back, who brings, some crazy cars to the showcase team with his two absolutely mint Datsun 280s, a 32 and 33 GTR, mint condition Silvia S40, big Nissan guy if you can't tell. And then, I think I want to say E chassis M5, no, whatever chassis, E30 chassis M5. So whatever it may be, we have this big variety when it comes to our showcase team, and I could keep going on for hours about these guys, but you just have to see the builds in person to even get an idea. They're not just JDM, they're just builds that took a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears to put together.
I think it's funny because I not knowing the car show space very well, the true car show space, I always used to get frustrated because they would give out a lot of shows give out some version of what I consider a participation award, or this is you're part of this year, or that car, whatever. And all these car show cars that are pampered are getting all these awards, and I'm like, man, us on the racing side, we're busting tail and setting up and all this kind of stuff, and I feel like it's so much harder to get awards on our side. And then I stopped and I started really focusing in on our team and the awards they're winning and who they're competing against and where they're winning these awards and what other cards are there and how much time and effort and parts and just all the things that are involved when it comes to their cars and how they make them not just show car condition, winning show car condition. And it gave a whole new appreciation when it came to those awards.
Drastically different, but like equally as brutal. Don't mean to
Correct.
interrupt, but I think the best.
No, you're right, 100%. It's one of the things is like in the racing world when I used to do weekly races, we used to spend, especially dirt racing. It was Friday nights and Saturday nights at the dirt track. Sunday we would wash the car. Monday we'd prep the car, and then Tuesday we'd take a break. Wednesday get it ready for the next week. Thursday realign the car. Friday load it back up and race. It was like every day we were doing something to our car. Where the racing that I'm doing now, it's a lot more laid back. Yes, we still have setup and stuff like that, but there is a high chance, especially like the Tesla, I have it pretty much dialed in that I know what I like, how I like, and that kind of stuff. So I rarely touch it other than getting it set up for the weekend. But it's super laid back compared to what I'm used to. But on the car show scene, them guys are waxing and polishing and prepping and adjusting. I feel like they spend so much more time getting their cars to win these awards than I do racing it. Like
If you don't
it's
have custom parts in the car show scene and in the racing scene, unfortunately, you're just behind it. That's the kind of effort it takes. It takes an equal amount of commitment on
Yeah.
both ends when it comes to these builds and the effort. I mean, you're talking about both kinds of people driving, out of state 8, 10 hours, trailering up or hauling those builds out, sitting at an event or show all day, whether or not they're pushing it on the track or it's sitting out in the baking heat. They still got to make that effort. Yes, it is more strenuous on the car and on the person to sit there and race their car. I think that's a given, but there are definitely their ups and downs with both. And I think those in the car community that hear this can definitely appreciate those of us that I would call are ambidextrous, that not every show car is a race car, but every properly built race car is a show car. And when you carry that mentality and you're taking your show car and your race car to both events, like I am with a couple of our other guys and a couple other people in the local community, you see that finite amount of who can actually build a tasteful car that can achieve both things. That's a tough thing to do.
And yeah, I think another kind of I wouldn't say a test of this because Teslas are not really known in the car show community. I mean, they have a weird niche.
Unfortunately, it's yeah, they have that
It,
love-hate relationship, and like I think all of us have that initial impact, but after we've seen the way you drive it and the way you've upgraded it and what it takes, it's another one of the boys in our opinion, the way you build it.
yeah, and I think that's kind of the thing that it's like most people don't consider it until they do. It's like one of the things is like once you know what it's able to do and what it looks like and how it operates, stuff like
What
that,
it took to
there
get
is that there's that appreciation of it, and I think that's the side that the like again going back to Nathaniel's car is that is it's a 50th anniversary. It's one of 70 vehicle. It's technically should be a straight up show car, and he runs it. And when I say doesn't care, is we all care about our cars, but he understands
The way
where
he
he needs to.
drives.
Where yeah, I was gonna say he understands where to push it, and he'll push it to the edge. And when he goes up to car shows, yes, he's still gonna clean. He's still gonna wax. He's gonna make sure that car looks nice. But it's got its scratches. It's got a cracked bumper. It's got its wear marks. But it's a race car. Like it's one of the things is like as long as you can appreciate in the show community that these race cars are being used.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I love seeing especially our group where we have show car, race car, show car, race car, race car, show car
There's a
parked next
purpose
to each
for
other.
each build. It's a purpose for each build. We're all here sharing the same passion. So it's something really cool, and to have, our showcase team going out there across the US now and our racing team going out of state and doing the same. We're getting our feet wet in multiple tracks. We're getting our team out there in different kinds of organizations, different venues, and I think from my personal experience, you can only stay cooped up in one space for so long, and you can only go do the same thing for so long. The state has so much to offer, and when you go out of state and travel to these other events, I can only encourage everybody that sees this to try and take me up on this. If you don't like it, you probably didn't do it right, or maybe you just need to try again with a better organization that has a better event for you. But if you go to the right one, I promise you it's going to be a life-changing experience. You're never going to want to stop traveling and going to these events. The friends that you meet will last a lifetime. And if you happen to want to go to Georgia, we have plenty of events for you to choose from throughout the year.
And if it tells you what kind of community we are, we had a recent, and I'm not as familiar with it, so I'm going to let y'all take over. But we had a recent situation where there was a child that passed away, and basically the father reached out to the car community and said, "Hey, he was a huge GTR fan, and it would be super awesome if we can get a GTR to be a part of the recessional." Am I saying that right?
The
procession,
procession.
Procession. And watching a community, not only whether it was, hey, I got a GTR, or I know a guy get a GTR, but they're sharing, posting, exploding just to help this one situation was really amazing. And how did that turn out, by the way?
Absolutely. So that started with the Georgia Z Club. They received that notification because I think the brother of the gentleman, the gentleman, he had a Z as well. So he reached out in there. A couple people had tagged me. Deanne forwarded it over, and we had unfortunately a conflicting event that was planned out, I think weeks, if not months in advance. So my goal was, I'm going to help spread the word, and Deanne did a great job with the support of our team as well, spreading the word. We'll see if we can get some GTRs to go out there at the minimum. If we can't get anyone out there, I'll forsake my own event where I knew we were going to have our staff running anyways, and that was with our friends and partners over at BSG. They support Nate with his racing endeavors. But long story short, we were able to secure, I want to say, 2 or 3 R35 GTRs, some local guys in the Georgia community. We couldn't have thanked them enough for their support. These guys, basically went out of their way on a Sunday to go support this family. They didn't, of course, get anything out of it other than the satisfaction of doing the right thing. So when we know we have this kind of community around us that we can lean on, we're really appreciative of the people that support us and the people that support those in need whenever they need them the most.
Yeah, and it's one thing you're talking about, the conflicting events is, so our schedule with all of our team doing the car shows, all the team doing the racing, and then you guys hosting events and multiple different types of events. Everybody schedules things years out, and something like this, when it was, and I hate not using the word last minute in a negative term, but it was such a tight window, that what is nice is having a great community that we have. We were able to have people step up to the plate and just really knocked it home for us, which is really nice. Some of the things we've done this past year, so our team is participating in the Atlanta Regional SCCA Autocross. Last year, we were able to do a lot of time attack events. We did some autocross, but it was really focused on the time attack events, just because Lanier, or was Lanier hosting their own series? Is that what it was?
Caffeine and Octane was hosting one.
Caffeine and Octane, yep.
Linear, yeah, same. So they were hosting one, and then Atlanta Motorsports Park was also hosting one. So there were those. There was some hill climb events as well. Grid Life was in town. They did a time attack event. So between that, I think we had Alex Schwartz at Grid Life. We had, I think, a few guys going out to hill climbs. We had most of the team over at the Atlanta Motorsports and Lanier time attack, and then Lanier also ran autocross along with Atlanta Motorsports Park. But the Atlanta Motorsports Park event kind of focused more on time attack, as we know, and then Lanier was more autocross oriented, but they definitely did a good job splitting those both up equally at the venue.
Yeah, and so we were doing a lot of stuff last year, but I think the big thing is we did a lot of time attack last year, which was awesome. Unfortunately, this year with Lanier getting shut down under new ownership, we're still trying to figure out what the new ownership's going to do, what their plans are. But as of right now, there's no racing at Lanier. And then AMP kind of tightened up their schedule and moved that around. And some of the other things we were looking
races,
into.
I think.
Yeah, and based on the schedule, there wasn't a lot of time attack. So this year, a lot of our team, me, Nathaniel, Trevor, and I think there was another guy, are working on the Atlanta Region SCCA Autocross to kind of get a feel for what that is, being that it is still an SCCA sanctioned events, high competition. I say great reward is one thing that Lanier used to host is the downforce battles. Right. I absolutely love the downforce battles. What that was, in short version, is an autocross, but it was a mirror track. If you know SCCA, it's basically considered what their pro solo races. But basically, it's a 2 mirror track. You race down, first one to come back wins, and it was a 4-hour race. You get 2 hours practice, and then there was a winner section, and then even a championship section. It was a lot of fun, great, but my opinion is competition was low. It was kind of just guys that wanted to have some fun legally was a way of doing it. So you had a lot of stock cars, some modified cars. It just wasn't, I don't think, as competition oriented, where the SCCA region, the competition is through the roof. And so that's what we decided to do this year, is do a lot of SCCA. So us three are running the SCCA region points. I've been focusing on doing a lot of what's called Grip Autocross events, which is a company called Grip Autocross, has been hosting some events. They were at Nopi Nationals last year. They'll be back at Nopi Nationals this year. They just hosted an event at Talladega Super Speedway that I was able to go to. So I've done some events like that. And I know we've been able to do some HPDE days with JZilla that hosts, just like you said, amazing events. So it's nice to get on track, like Road Atlanta, Atlanta Motorsports Park we did this year. Barber, they were just at Barber, which it's funny because the frustrating side story is I never been to Barber. The guy that was also racing with me, racing my car, has never been to Barber, and we were at Talladega Super Speedway. And while we were there during the racing, as in like it was Friday and Saturday, so at Friday night we're like, you know what? We're big fans of Buc-ee's. Let's go to Buc-ee's. So we drove all the way down. It was 30 minutes away. We drove all the way down to Buc-ee's, got some Buc-ee nuggets and some other stuff, and drove all the way back down. Went to the race the next day, and we were talking to some of the racing buddies, and they go, hey, did you check out Barber Motorsports Park? And they go, no, we really wanted to. Where's that at? And they were like, next door. And I was like, you're telling me we were right next to it?
Nate was telling me that story. That's hilarious.
Yes, I was so mad because I never seen it, and now I was only 30 seconds away. Barry talks about how highly that Barber Motorsports track is a really nice track to go to. But some of the car shows and stuff that we got going on coming up soon, we got some big things coming up. What can you tell me about that?
So we have a few car shows coming up, but before we touch base on that, I did want to say, that trip to Barber was epic, and it was really possible thanks to our partners over at JZilla. So we do have some really cool partners this season that have made a lot possible, and I did want to touch base on them real quick before we do move on to that next topic as well. But so JZilla, like I kind of touched base before, and I'll be quick with each one of these. JZilla Track Days, they help you with high performance driver education, and they're just now getting their feet wet with Time Attack. They take you on or off track in any car of your choice with an instructor and help you go through a progression system that is at your own pace on a safe level. So if you're ever interested in getting out on the racetrack, JZilla has been doing this for I think nearly 2 decades now or something like that. I've been seeing their name around since I first got into the car community back in, I would say, about 2012 or 13. So thanks to them, we've been able to progress as far as we have. We also have our partners over at Z1 Motorsports. They're helping a lot with the Nissan builds. They offer a lot of off-road and on-road parts, including street parts. So if you have a Nissan build or an Infiniti build, they're the ones to go to. Our friends over at the Lowe Law Firm, they're supporting some of our racing endeavors, and they help out with some of our vendoring endeavors as well. They're the reason that we're sometimes able to go out to these car shows. So thanks to them. If you ever, of course, need any kind of legal advice, if you're ever in a non-at-fault accident, they're the ones to reach out to. We do have some friends over at Countersteer. They are the Skyline specialists here in the United States. Highly recommend if you have any kind of Skyline. They're the gurus to go to when it comes to tuning your car or getting it fixed. They're the ones to go to. We do have friends over, of course, at Haltech. Haltech offers electronic computer management systems. They stretch to a ton of builds, from Nissans to 2JZs to rotaries and everything in between. They offer a ton of plug and play adaptive systems, and they have tons of sensors and tons of readouts that offer everything you could need. With that being said, we do have just 2 more partners to touch base on, and that's going to be our collision and our wrap guys. So Insomnia Wraps, they're our friends over there in, I believe, Alpharetta, Georgia. They offer a full scale and range of PPF, tint, colored PPF, and wrap capabilities. Whether you want a color change, a full printed livery, or anything in between, they're able to do a moto compo to what I would say is probably blimp size. So if you have anything you want to take to them, they're the ones to go to. And then our friends over at Alpha Collision and Alpharetta as well, they're who we trust to fix our race cars on and off the track. So if you ever need help with them, they're the ones to go to.
Perfect. Yeah, the one thing about these sponsors is that was a big thing this year is racing costs a lot, car shows cost a lot, going to the events costs a lot. Anything to do with cars is a lot of money. So anytime we can get any sponsors to kind of help us out with any of those things is big. And we don't really work with mediocre sponsors either. When it comes to, when I say that is we pretty much, all the sponsors we kind of go for help us out in some way, shape, or form, and they make a big difference when it comes to how they are involved in our program of any way, shape, or form. So if they're a sponsor with us, it's something that there's a reason for it.
Yeah, so when we say partners and sponsor, these like Kyre just said are people that actually help our endeavors, whether it's team support or individual support. We know we can rely on them, and then as a team, we always try to help each other. So when we work with these guys, they actually do something for our team. They're not just people that we spend our money with. I did want to touch base. I did forget to mention one of our most recent sponsors, Platinum Racing Products. If you haven't heard of them, they are huge in the GTR scene. They offer anything from sequentials to full built transmissions, fully built engines, and packages in between. So thank you again, of course, to our friends over at Platinum Racing Products. But Kyra, you mentioned earlier we were talking about the upcoming events, and I think we have a really cool one coming up called Nally, Lexus, and Roswell Cars and Coffee. It's going to be on June 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., working directly with their management. And funny enough, something that I wanted to mention is because of these events, apparently, and this may be hearsay, Nally has implemented a corporate level mandate to where now every Lexus dealership has to host a Cars and Coffee event. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, at first, we thought about going exclusive with our friends over at Nally in um, Roswell, but Nally in Lithia or Smyrna, I can't remember which one it is. They're by the battery. They have offered to work with us as well, and because neither is offering a tuner night kind of idea, we don't see the hurt in helping both. So hopefully, you can make this one coming up and maybe the other one in the future as well.
Yeah, the big thing on those the cars and coffee stuff is obviously I work part time at dealership. I've been in the dealership space for about 15 years now. Is they obviously are there to talk about their cars. Obviously, that when they're specifically talking about their Lexuses that they have, their premium vehicles and stuff like that. But what's nice about these cars and coffee is not only is it a nice, clean environment to see other people's cars. It's not going to sit in your driveway. You actually get to go see other people's vehicles, and you get to see kind of the new technology around. Lexus is a great brand that makes high quality vehicles, so you kind of get to see all the bells and whistles and cool things with those. And I'm sure if you talk to the right person going for a nice test drive, you get to really see what those cars can actually do and feel on those test drives as well. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're excited for everybody to hang out and enjoy it. They have music, they have food, they have the showroom open. They're gonna have the parking lot. They're gonna have Lexus specific parking in the service drive. They're very good at being hospitable and welcoming to everybody. So it is a family friendly event. Now, meanwhile, our team had led by our friend and teammate Cam is going to be hosting that event, while our vendor team headed by me that weekend is going to be going to Clean Cultures, ATL AutoFest, if I remember correctly, is what it's called. It's going to
Yeah.
be at Echo Park. That's the new name. It's the old Atlanta Motor Speedway, Echo Park in Hampton, Georgia. It's going to be Saturday, June 13th. It's off the top of my head, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
June 13th, and we're going to be there all day. So we're going to be bringing the vendor setup. We'll have
Now,
the
y'all are going to be there on
Huracan
the
events and
14th, or you're
everything.
going to be there 13th and 14th.
So we have two events. It's a back-to-back weekend. That's exactly what I was getting at. So we have the 13th at Hampton with Clean Culture, and then the very next day when we're hosting our Nally event on the 14th, we're also splitting off and going to going to vendor at the GT World Challenge with Southern Fresh and their awesome pit side car show. So that's going to be an epic event. I've always wanted to see GT racing, and this time I get to go set up a vendor booth for Speedgate with some epic builds. We're going to bring the Huracan out. We're going to have the 350 out. We're going to have a couple JDM and other team cars out, and it's going to be a really cool experience for everybody to enjoy.
Yeah, if you're trying to get into the racing space, obviously, well, let me backtrack a little bit. If you're trying to keep up with the Speedgate, obviously on their Facebook page, you have our public page that actually has all that information on some of the races we're doing, but a lot of the shows and pretty much all the shows that we're going to be attending are going to be on there. Is that pretty much correct, Zach?
That sounds about right. Yeah. So we have our public events page on Facebook, which is going to have most of the events that our team is actually hosting, and you'll see all of the Speedgate hosted events there. Our Instagram and some of our Facebook, but mostly our Instagram, is going to also show those along with all of our attending events. So I would say if you can go to the Facebook page to really get get a good handling and all the individual details sectioned up for the events that we have hosting. And then if you just want to follow the team, see where we're going, what we're doing next, what kind of events we're racing at, what state we're going to compete in, what car show with what organization, Instagram is going to be the place to go. We're going to have most of the events coming up in our bio. And then, of course, any main events coming up are going to be pinned towards the top of the page as flyers for everybody to see and know where to go.
Now, one of the biggest biggest shows that you guys have all year is this big Skyline Invitational. Now, you guys have been hosting that for how many years now? This is the third year?
It's our sixth year.
Sixth year.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, for those that attended last year, for those that have attended the last 6 years, especially the ones that attended last year, what makes this one coming up a little bit different?
Patrick, you tell them exactly.
So in years past, it started off as a very small gathering of some of the local, Skyline community here in Georgia at Countersteer. Actually, when we started this group, we had an R33 ourselves, which was a sponsor car. That's another
Thanks
episode.
To our friends at Low Law.
Thanks to our friends at Low Law. That's a whole nother episode that I could go on forever about that situation.
2-hour episode for sure.
But in general, we started off at Countersteer. So we had, I think, 30 Skylines our first year.
It was close to that.
It was close to that. The second year we did it there. Third year we did it at a baseball park called Malden Park, which is right down the street from Countersteer. We had something along the lines of, we kept it local.
That year, I think we opened it up to so because Countersteer was so, I don't mean to interrupt, but because Countersteer was so limited in space, it's a very niche shop. It's enough space for all of like 30 cars in the main show, or not in the main show, but in the main lot. So when we saw the kind of reception we had, and that we were, one, outgrowing our spectator space, but two, we're way too tight for the amount of show cars that wanted to be there, we knew that it made sense to go to a bigger venue. So that also included bringing in the other chassis that are key to Nissan while still focusing on the Skyline chassis. So that's when we opened up to Z, Infinity, Stagia, and Silvias. Those were then allowed as okay, here's a taste of these. Let's see what the state has to offer. We'll let in a few of each depending on who applies, and only allow the best in while we focus on the Skylines the most.
Yeah, so that was year 3 and 4. We really did. We opened it up and we saw
filled
a
up
massive.
That park both times.
We did. We filled up that park and it was insane. I mean, we had hundreds of spectators, which for that show, I mean, it went from just some people showing up, some friends showing up, to now all of a sudden we have,
people
spectators.
Flying in.
Yeah, people were flying in. People were coming from across the country.
Trailering from New York.
Yeah.
In their Skyline. So we also had to battle some unforeseen circumstances. So year 3 was first time really dealing with the elements, such as the bad heat. And if you don't know, Georgia gets hot in June. Okay, it gets real hot in June. So when you're on a blacktop, that's basically an oven or a stovetop is the best way to put it. And long story short, when we got to year 4, we had reserved our space months and months in advance. And the city decided a few weeks before the event that they were going to dump the equivalent of 4 or 5 parking spaces worth of gravel, about 4 feet high, on our SpeedGate planned vendor booth spacing. So we got out there, and our team, without any help of the city, moved that 3 days before the event. Well, it was just our luck that the day of the event we showed up and the city had planned to finally use that gravel. And in order for them to use it, they moved it right back where we just moved it by hand using an excavator. So the frustration was paramount. Got through that. We managed. We adapted. We overcame. And then we were struck with the equivalent of 95 to 98 degree heat from the sun, which baked the concrete to about 120 to 130 degrees. So the blacktop was just unbearable. We had cool down tents, and because I know we were all working really hard, but because myself, I was also working extremely hard. I had just suffered so much that I looked at Patrick and said, we either move the month or we go inside with AC. And thus the idea was born to take us inside because moving the month didn't make sense on the calendar. We go to year 5 to the auto hangar. Unfortunately, the owner had portrayed the venue to be permitted properly. We found out the day of the event, thanks to the fire marshal, that the police called in off of his vacation from the lake that Saturday, that was not the case, and that the venue was permitted for 75 people to host our event, not 75 cars plus spectators. So we were, unfortunately, in a way, misled. I think just the guy running the show didn't understand the permit entirely, and then we were the ones that suffered. Patrick and I ended up thousands of dollars out of pocket just to host the event and to save what we could, and we knew that this year was our chance to really rebuild. So thanks to our friends and the title sponsors over at Z1 Motorsports for the Skyline Invitational, we were able to secure the Gas South Convention Center, which is offering a fully climate controlled indoor AC lit showroom quality facility with its own 6,000 outdoor parking space, fully permitted and sanctioned by the Gwinnett Police Department, who will be supporting and attending while working the event on our payroll, and a parking deck to stay out of the elements for any spectators that don't feel like going there. Now, for anybody traveling out of state, there's an integrated Westin 4-star hotel with a restaurant and on-site bar. It's going to be an amazing event, and we hope everybody can make it.
Now, this comparing it, because my first time was doing last season's or last year's, the size of that facility compared to the size of this one, what would be a comparison?
Patrick would know best.
The auto hangar, I'll put it this way: what you saw, Kyre, you could fit 4 of those buildings in this one room.
Dang. And the reason why I'm asking is, one, I'm curious, but is for those out there that are listening or watching. So last year was the first time you'd be in part of the Invitational. Obviously, premium cars, fantastic awards. It was one of those things we talked about earlier in the show, that these are the awards that you worked your butt off for. These are the ones that really show out. These are nationally ranked, what I would say nationally ranked drivers. These are nationally ranked cars, type of stuff. So this is the best of the best. And these cars were stacked 3-4 deep in this facility. The only way one car was getting out was all the rest of them had to get out. You guys crammed as much as you can in there for reasons, because
close to 70 cars. Yeah,
I was gonna say there was a lot of cars in there, and it was amazing to see not only all the cars in there, but the quality of cars, and to know that this year is going to be literally bigger, better, nicer. It's very exciting, especially with the support of the community. Unlike last year, this show should be really a showstopper. So.
And we've had a lot of support, like you said, from community. So it's not only, our title sponsors and our friends over at Z1 Motorsports who have made this all possible, but there are a lot of other things that come into play. There's media, there's trophies, there's staffing, there's, as Patrick and I have come to learn, very expensive unforeseen venue costs that they don't really like to tell you about until the last minute, because why else would life be interesting if you didn't get surprises? Am I right? So it's thanks to these other supporting sponsors that we're able to get this far. So I just want to give them a big shout out. We're going to keep saying the guys and gurus over at Countersteer. Countersteer is a Canton shop over in Georgia. It's a local shop. They are Skyline gurus. They have an on-site dyno. They do full ground-up builds and restorations. They are the guys to go to. They may not paint your car, but they're going to do everything in between to get it paint ready for you. And then, of course, the build underneath and above is going to be nothing but spectacular and exactly what you asked for, done the right way the first time. Hashi Motion is actually one of the other sponsors. They've been attending our event as participants and vendors, as well as showcase participants for the past few years. They have been supporting the Skyline Invitational as a vendor and showcase participant, and this year they're a full-blown sponsor. So thanks to them, we're able to bring them inside and bring everybody else out of the heat and into the AC. So they're going to be setting up their full booth. I think they're bringing out some epic cars. From what Rocky told me, the guy that runs it, it is going to be their best builds ever, and they have Omari factory builds. So if anybody knows what that means, They don't play around. Now, that's not the one they're bringing, though. From what I understand, this surpasses it. I can't imagine what it is, but these guys know their stuff. We also have Drive My Dream Marietta. They offer exotic and luxury cars here locally in Marietta. They offer amazing selections with GT3 RSs, Nismo R35 GTRs, 570 McLarens, AMG GTRs. The list goes on, okay? So if you're in the market for some kind of amazing grand touring or supercar, Drive a Dream Marietta is going to be able to fulfill your dream, whatever that car may be. And then last but not least, we do have our newest and most recent sponsor. It's Terra Firma GTR. This is a local and one of the first ever off-the-shelf Skyline retail facilities. So you're talking parts that were discontinued and hard to get your hands on 30 years ago. Now you have a facility local here in Georgia, correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, but in Georgia, that now offers these parts off the shelf in the North Georgia mountains. So if anybody kind of gets the vibe of like a Toge Cafe near Bridge Moto and they want to go maybe hit the mountains and maybe check out Terra Firma, that sounds like a pretty great drive to me. But it's because of these sponsors that everything's possible. Media is possible. Trophies are possible. Getting you guys out of the blaring heat. I had to watch my words there for a second. Out of the blaring heat and into this showroom is the most important thing we can do. And if it wasn't for these sponsors, we wouldn't know exactly how to do it, and it wouldn't be possible. So please patronize them, check them out, support them, like them, follow them, support their social medias, tell them we sent you. And of course, if we're recommending them, it's for a reason. Just reach out to them, and of course, they'll be there to help you.
Well, this wraps it up for the show. Thanks everybody for watching. If you guys enjoyed what you've seen, definitely like, subscribe, watch, comment, anything. There's a lot of things we talked about in this show that we kind of just touched on. We had a lot to introduce, not only about each other, about the SpeedGate Motorsports, about what we've done, doing, going to be doing. So there's a lot of things we touched on we haven't even went into big depth on. We're going to have more shows in the future. But it's something that you guys liked. Again, let us know. Let us know any questions that you have, whether it be for those future shows or any questions about any of our rides, cars, or even any suggestions or maybe what you want a episode to be about, which is always would be a lot of fun. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us. Till next time.